President Mugabe appeared in public today for the first time since the military takeover earlier this week. Pressure has been mounting on the 93-year-old leader to quit. His party, Zanu PF, says that Mugabe could face impeachment as soon as next Tuesday if he fails to step aside.
Congregation of the Zimbabwe Open University.
The defiant Robert Mugabe makes his first public appearance since the country's army took over on Wednesday. He attended a graduation ceremony in the capital Harare along with a military escort. Mugabe's wife, Grace Mugabe, nor Zimbabwe's education minister, Jonathan Moyo, were present at the ceremony. Mugabe led the country's liberation struggle and has dominated its politics since independence in 1980. But last week, when he sacked Vice President Emmerson Mnangagwa, paving the way for his wife, Grace Mugabe, to occupy the presidency, Mugabe triggered a military takeover. A leader that has held his country back by remaining in power for too long has the army camped on his doorstep. Grace Mugabe under house arrest, and her key political allies are in military custody. The police, once a bastion of support, have showed no signs of resistance. The army appears to want Mugabe to go quietly and allow a smooth and bloodless transition. Zimbabwe's military remains the armed wing of Zanu PF, as it was when they were all rebels fighting white minority rule in the then Rhodesia. But now the ruling party are meeting to draft a resolution to dismiss President Robert Mugabe at the weekend and lay the ground for his impeachment next week if he refuses to stand down. Zimbabwe has long been under heavy U.S. sanctions, but the U.S. says lifting those sanctions could be an option if Harare shows it's serious about ushering in major political reform. Zimbabwe has long been under heavy U.S. sanctions, but the U.S. says lifting those sanctions could be an option if Harare shows it's serious about ushering in major political reform. The African Union, a key regional bloc, demands that Zimbabwe return to constitutional order. Botswana and Nigeria calls for calm and respect and said that every attempt should be made to save the country from political instability. And Mugabe's main political rival for 2 decades, the MDC wants Mugabe to resign.
In the interest of the people of Zimbabwe, Mr. Robert Mugabe must resign, step down immediately in line with the national sentiment.
And after 37 years of absolute power,
Having and bearing sanctions banning us from Europe, we are not Europeans. We have not asked for any inch of Europe or any square inch of that territory. So, Blair, keep your England and let me keep my Zimbabwe.
Robert Mugabe may no longer be in charge of Zimbabwe past the weekend.